Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Slay to Success talk show. I am your host, Rochelle Slay Queen Hemingway, CEO and founder of Slay to Success. Slay to Success advises and empowers women professionals, especially women veterans, to step up into their most authentic personal brand so they can gain lucrative opportunities that may not otherwise exist by focusing on appearance, behaviors and body language, communication skills, and digital presence. So, tonight, y'all, you know that we are here for the main purpose of showing people who are living, owning their own terms, living out their dream, pursuing some community impact, just delivering some great services. And I had the opportunity to meet such a wonderful woman at one of my networking events. We were at Business Women's Network of Howard County, and we just struck up a conversation. And guess what? She is going to be here tonight, y'all. So I am so excited. So, all of my guests that come onto the show, we are all talking about slay. Slay means to kill it, to dominate it, and to nail it, to be on point, to impress greatly, to dream big and work hard until you own it. It is also an acronym. S stands for stay ready to be ready. L, lead out loud. A, a sense of community, a sense of family. And Y, you are built to last. So as you come in, y'all, please let us know where you're streaming in from, your name, so we can give you the shout out. And I see Chevy, you are here. Hi, Queen. What's happening? What's going on? Thank you so much for streaming in live with us tonight. Mosaic Sparks is in the building. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's show. I'm absolutely so excited for this conversation, y'all. Okay, because you know what we do up in here. We have SLAYMAZING conversations. We just don't have conversations. So I just want to make sure that you're all getting yourself prepared. If you need to go and get you a drink of choice, beverage for me is just a light Crystal Light in my Slay cup. So whatever that is, that's your business. Okay. But we're going to be having a great conversation. So just stick with us and stay with us. I am a professional keynote speaker. I'm also an image consultant, personal brand expert, and an author of 3 books, y'all. Okay. And I now am a part of another anthology, another book that I've been able to write a chapter about resilience in, and a United States Air Force veteran of 30 years. So thank you so much for being here. Glenroy, thank you so much. You're streaming in from Vegas. Thank you for being here tonight with us. And so let's just get started, y'all. Okay, let's just get started. First, let me just introduce my special guest tonight. Her name is Andrea Bendig, and she is a dedicated registered nurse with decades of experience in healthcare, specializing in dementia care and older adult health. As the founder of Wellness Strategies Group, Andrea is committed to educating and supporting families, caregivers, and individuals living with dementia. Known as the Dementia Nurse Andrea, she leverages her extensive experience to offer expert guidance to dementia care, ensuring that patients can age in place with dignity. Her expertise extends to training employees at healthcare agencies to promote dementia awareness, creating a more informed and compassionate workforce. In addition, as a strong patient advocate, Andrea ensures that the voices and needs of those she serves are heard and addressed. Andrea holds a master's degree in nursing and multiple certifications. She is a member of the National Council of Certified Dementia Practitioners, the Howard County Local Health Improvement Coalition, and the Businesswomen's Network of Howard County. So please put your hands together, y'all, for Andrea, because she is in the building.
Hi. So good to be here.
I am so happy that you could join us tonight because this is such the work that you do and how you're doing it. I just knew you had to be a member on the show. I was like, she is a guest. Okay, please. And so Chevy's giving you claps. She's welcoming you on to the show. And so, how was your day? First of all, how was your Sunday?
It has been just beautiful. The weather's been nice. I was able to spend some retail therapy time with my mom. So,
Hey,
we did a little shopping and yeah, just enjoyed the sunshine.
yeah, y'all, the weather is absolutely amazing here in the DMV. So wherever you're at, I hope that you're having some great weather. And you speak my language when you say retail therapy, okay? Because I'll be trying to do that as many times as possible, however my budget can allow. So I definitely understand that. So for those that may not know you, what are you, like, let's start from what have you been able to accomplish up to this point? I think that you have an extensive career and you had decades, right? So where exactly did you kind of grow up at? What kind of occurred? How'd you get into nursing? And then we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. So, thanks again for having me on the show. This is great. And I didn't realize you had so many books. I'm going to have to check that out.
Oh,
So, congratulations. That's awesome.
thank
Um,
you.
yeah. So, just to tell you a little bit about my history and how I got into nursing. So, I grew up on a family horse farm.
Mm,
My dad was a trainer and a breeder, and so I was around horses growing up. I wasn't the person who was in sports in high school. I was on the farm. And out of high school, I was offered a job with the state as a medical transcriptionist. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is great, right? I'm 18, I'm going to have a job working for the state. I was really excited. So I started that job, and sitting at the desk with the headsets on and typing all day, I started to think it probably is not for me. I
mm,
mean, and in the meantime, I'm watching all the nurses, who are doing patient care. And
yeah.
I thought, I think that's what I want to be doing. And I was lucky enough that where I worked actually had a nursing program where they actually paid me to go to school to become a nurse. Yeah, so I was very lucky with that. And so I graduated with my licensed practical nurse, which is an LPN. So it's a step under a registered nurse. And I worked as an LPN for a long time. It gave me a lot of, early in my career, I worked like at Johns Hopkins in the NICU. I worked for a local hospital in Med-Surg. I worked for addictions, mental health. Really, it just gave me the opportunity to discover where did I want to be in nursing. And as I continued in the LPN path, the state started changing some of the regulations on what LPNs can do. And I found myself worried if I would still have a job. Because they
Mm,
were kind of saying, oh, LPNs now can't do this, or they can't do that, or they have to have an RN sign off. And when that was happening, I was a single mom.
mm,
And, my son was in football and soccer and playing a lot of sports, and I was really busy. But I knew I needed to go back to school. And so when he got into high school is when I worked full time, took care of him, and also put myself through RN school. So it was challenging, but I think actually doing all that has really kind of built how I got to where I am today. And,
yeah.
I just continued. I then went on and got my bachelor's degree. I got my master's. And the last half of my nursing career, I was an administrator, was a director of nursing. And I thought, this is great. This is exactly where I want to be. This is why I got my master's degree. And I really felt like I was missing patient care. I was
Mhm.
supervising 150 people, including, RNs, LPNs, caregivers, and I even did some things with physical therapists and occupational therapists. And I was missing sitting down and really connecting with a patient and finding out how can I help them.
Yeah.
And sorry, I've been talking a lot this past week. I've been doing a lot of teaching.
Oh, okay. Look, that's awesome.
My
So
voice is a little worn out, but
yeah. That's awesome.
So at the same time, I was feeling like I wanted to go back to patient care. My husband was actually diagnosed with multiple myeloma, and which isn't
Mm.
incurable. It's a cancer, and so my whole role kind of switched, where now I was his caregiver and I was
Mm.
his patient advocate. And he went through, a bone marrow transplant at Johns Hopkins. And then because he didn't have an immune system, he got really sick and was hospitalized a couple times. And so I was thinking to myself, going through that, how do people navigate chronic conditions without knowing anything about health, really?
Mhm.
And just the combination of wanting to do patient care and what he was going through, I just decided I was going to open my own business, start my own business. And I wanted to be able to connect with patients one on one with no time constraints, right? No insurance telling me how long I can spend with somebody. And at the same time, make sure I'm an advocate for them and just
Yeah.
really guiding people. So that's kind of that's a quick summary of my nursing career, but
Oh
that's
my
kind
gosh.
of.
There's so many things. So first of all, y'all, okay, I also too was a medic in the Air Force for most of my career. So I understand exactly what you're speaking to. So, I also grew up in a rural town. I used to go over to my track coach's farm, and he had horses, and we used to go ride the horses. So I totally understand the environment from which you were living in, and then being a medical transcriptionist. And that's the medical admin piece, y'all, administrative work that you do. And then being an LPN, which is equivalent to a medical technician, because we were right underneath the nurse, and we were essentially working underneath their license. And I know that how that could be as you've gone to different areas. And then we too had to elevate our skills when we were in the military, and they were telling us that we needed to get other certifications. There was other pipelines for us to go to and work as medics. So I became an independent duty medical technician, and I was out deploying to all these different places, providing healthcare to all these places around the world. And so, getting your registered nursing license and doing that as a single parent is one of those things that I'm like, wow, that is so incredible, because we don't know how much we have in us until we do it. Until we,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like when we tell ourselves, you know what, this is the time that we need to take, first of all, to take advantage of, because we can see the writing on the wall, kind of where we are going to end up. And that's not where we went to. And it led you to get your master's degree. Same as me, I was like, I got very tired. I got my master's degree, and I was like, okay, so the elevation to continue to work, and now you're your own CEO, okay, of your business. You created a business because of your passion for the bedside. Okay, I don't have that anymore in me, Andrea. So you are, look, my bedside manner kind of went wane a little bit because I was going into different roles. But I totally can resonate with your path. And I know that a lot of our audience members can do the same, because at any point in our lives, we go in and out of the healthcare system. And I do want to, the journey that you had to go with your husband when he was diagnosed, and being a caregiver now, that could be a lot of weight for you to endure, and as a family to endure. So, when we have these stories about healthcare, and healthcare is humongous. It's There's a lot of, like tentacles from the healthcare system. And when you get lost into that, as we have, aged, because all of us are aging, whether we like it or not, it could be difficult to manage. So how do you walk your patients through that?
So, the majority of the patients that I am working with do have a dementia diagnosis. So, I was lucky enough about 20 years ago to train at what was called the Copper Ridge Institute. So, it was kind of like the elite place to go if you had a cognitive impairment. And I was able to train with the neurologists and the psychiatrists, and that kind of really struck my passion for dementia
Mhm.
care. And my grandfather had Alzheimer's disease as well. So basically, I am a private consultant, and the majority of my clients are aging in place with dementia. And
Mm.
it's usually the spouse or the child that calls me and says, I just don't know what to do. I'm
Mm.
lost, and what I'm finding is dementia is it's not like high blood pressure. It's not like diabetes, where what I see at least is my clients go to the doctor, they go through the testing, they get a diagnosis of dementia, and I'll see you in 6 months. And there's
Mm.
no education, there's no support, there's no training to really guide people through what does this journey look like? What can you expect to happen later? And there's a lot that goes into it. Everything from just not memory loss and forgetfulness, but challenging behaviors and difficulty swallowing and walking. And it's hard for families sometimes to plan because they're in it right now. They're in that crisis and really struggling. So when they call me, if they are in Central Maryland, I will go to their home. I do a comprehensive 2-hour assessment where I'm really looking at everything: their medical history, their medications, their level of functioning, what did they do for a living, all those things. So I can really get to know that person. And I do a home safety screening as well. And then out of that assessment, I create a plan for them. So
Mm.
that's kind of how I start to guide them through this. So it could be that they have, let's just say, uncontrolled high blood pressure. So I may put something in the plan about that. And sometimes it's referring them back to their healthcare provider. But I also do things like change the environment. So if somebody's getting lost in their own home, there are things we can do for that. If somebody doesn't have a great appetite, I can look at where they're sitting and look at the color of their table, their tablecloth, the placemat, the plate. All those things go into play in how to create a dementia-friendly environment. But I'm also a patient advocate for them. I also am a liaison. So if someone's having challenging behaviors, let's say, I will coach the families on what information and what data is most important to share with a healthcare provider. Because people are nervous when they go to the doctor.
Oh, yeah.
They're nervous. And when they get there, they forget what they were going to talk about. And I'm talking about the spouse or the loved one, not the person with dementia. And
Yeah.
so I kind of give them a guide, this is what you want to report, and act as a liaison for them. And if they do need to go into an assisted living or a memory care, I am an advocate for them. So I want to make sure that they're getting the best care and the right care. And so sometimes I'm helping families navigate through that, even if they're in the hospital or rehab, if they have a fall, let's say, and they break their hip. But being kind of that buffer person
Yeah.
to educate families on what should you expect in the healthcare system for that particular setting. And sometimes it's telling families that your expectations might be too high, right?
Yeah.
If your mom is in assisted living and the caregivers have 12 people to take care of, your mom might not have help within 2 minutes to get to the restroom.
Right.
So it's guiding them from everything from aging in place to working with their healthcare provider and what to ask for and what should you expect back. and just really making sure that their care is the best that it can be.
I absolutely love it. And I know that the patients that you have and the families that you're helping is forever grateful for what you are doing, because it is definitely a calling, as Dwayne has said here. So, welcome, Dwayne, to the show. His family was a huge recipient of healthcare professionals. God bless people with that calling.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I don't want to go without, recognizing Glenn Roy's comment. He said, learn all that is available to learn within your industry or profession if it is your passion. If not, apply the same thought process to your passions. The process of learning all that you can will in turn allow you to build upon your value within an organization or allow you more power in negotiating your service. So we're going to put a pin on that, Glenn Roy, because that will be something that we're going to talk about in the show. So thank you so much for putting that in there for us to think about. And Mosaic Spark says, wow, this is amazing. I had 2 coworkers whose parents were diagnosed and neither of them had any guidance nor support. What you are doing is incredible work.
Oh.
And it's true. It's absolutely true. So I have family members too that unfortunately passed away from Alzheimer, my grandmother and my grandfather. And then my dad, or my husband's side, his mother passed away and she had some dementia as well. And they don't really talk about, what it is you do to take care of your loved one. A lot of times they are put into a nursing home, all right? And then they are there. And I remember going and seeing my grandparents, and they were not functioning as well as I thought they would be in the nursing home. In fact, they started to decline. So before we go on to, kind of that stage, what are some signs, if you will, of dementia? Like, what is dementia, first of all? Because I know sometimes we just need to say it out loud and to express it, because sometimes people don't really understand the disease or the process, if you will. And so let's talk about what it is, what are the symptoms, and maybe some ways to prevent at our age. Because right
Yeah.
now we're at what, 40s, 50s, most of us that are watching in on the show.
Yeah. So that's a great question, because a lot of times people do not realize what the true definition of dementia is. It is a group of symptoms.
Mm,
So when we hear that term dementia, that's what it means, a group of symptoms. And I tell people dementia, we think of it as an umbrella. And under that umbrella, we have reversible dementia and irreversible dementias.
mm,
And so, under reversible are things like an infection, like a urinary tract infection, a concussion, low vitamin B levels, underactive thyroid. So, all of those things can be reversed once it's treated, right? And so, that group of symptoms look at things like forgetfulness, short term and long term memory loss, difficulty concentrating, poor attention span. Um, Typically when someone hears the word dementia, you think of memory loss and forgetfulness.
right, right.
And that's absolutely true. But there are other things that fall under there, like difficulty problem solving as well. So we have the reversible dementia, and then we have the irreversible. So under irreversible are going to be Alzheimer's disease,
Mhm.
Parkinson's disease, Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia. The list goes on, frontotemporal dementia. So the list goes on there as well. But that's what dementia is. It is a group of symptoms. And so that's why I'm a real big advocate for, if someone starts with those symptoms, the forgetfulness, attention, poor attention span, difficulty concentrating, those things, we don't just assume, oh, they're old, right? Because there really could be an underlying medical condition that's causing that group of symptoms.
Mhm.
And, I've seen that happen and even hearing loss. I've worked with people who the caregiver will say to me, and this would be for a client who doesn't have dementia, hasn't been diagnosed with that, but the caregiver would say, Andrea, I don't know what's going on. I think they're really losing it. They're not answering my questions the right way. And after doing a little bit of digging, it's because they didn't have their hearing aids in.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's reversible, right? She got her hearing aids in and now she can hear and understand what the question is. So those symptoms of looking like she's confused, go away.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for sharing that and, enlightening us on what it is, what truly, dementia is a group of symptoms that people can have, and the reversible and irreversible. So, there's a lot of talk, if you will, about aging and, what we can do to reverse aging. And I know one of the things that we're always mindful of is what are we consuming, and how are we protecting ourselves from, having these increased symptoms of not really understanding and being aware. So from your research and from, your patients that you take care of, are there some ways to prevent or to slow down, symptoms of forgetfulness or maybe having a hard time solving problems, like all those groups of symptoms? What have you found to be
Yeah, and
best?
that's a great question. So let's use the example of vascular dementia.
Mm,
So vascular dementia typically occurs because there have been strokes or TIAs, those mini strokes. So one thing that you can do to kind of prevent your risk of that is making sure that your cardiovascular health is in check, right? Making
mm,
sure that your blood pressure is very well controlled. So if you do have high blood pressure, working with your healthcare provider to make sure that it stays well controlled, exercising, diet, all of those things you think about in your health and wellness is
mhm.
important in reducing your likelihood of developing a dementia. And that's a good example with the vascular because it's directly related. Diabetes, controlling your sugar, there's research that shows high sugar levels can increase your chance of developing dementia. So really just improving your health and wellness, eating right, exercising, all the things that we all hear about, right? But sometimes it's hard for us to get that kick behind us to get going, right? So all of those things are important, but engaging your brain. I talk all the time about brain health and keeping your brain active. And, like I have an app on my phone that I do brain games every night. It's just part of my routine.
Oh,
And yeah, and it's a free app. But it makes me think. And that's how you know if it's a good brain challenge. If you have to stop and pause and think about it, then that's a good brain challenge for you. Like sitting in front of the TV is not something that engages your brain unless you're playing like Jeopardy, right?
right.
So yeah, engaging your cognitive health, as well as your physical health is really important.
Yeah, I absolutely understand. And the brain health is just one of those things that we have to continually and improve so that way when we do become older, if you will, we're not shifting our minds into a place where we can't come back from and we're not quite sure of what's happening. Um, and it's so important, these habits that we have. And you're talking about early habits, doing brain games on the app. All right. You'll have to let us know what that app is, so I could download that because we do have to maintain activity to make sure that we are, again, keeping up with what's going on. And the world is so hypersensitive right now. There's so much stimulus that's happening, so make sure it's the right information that we're putting in our brains as well. So he always has amazing comics.
Yeah.
Okay. Illnesses like achievers and dementia, and I think he meant Alzheimer's,
Okay.
Dementia can be prevented and managed effectively. Unlike the healthcare industry in general, the context and degree of care that Ms. Bendig has given account to providing seems to be a step in a more positive direction. Healthcare has become more of an illness and symptom management industry. So he appreciates the facilitation of the methods that you're speaking about. Is, healthcare is a business,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know, and sometimes, they treat it as a business. And unfortunately, the people that come to get healthcare are treated like business, so you're providing that one-on-one, hands-on touch, let me help you and support you in this journey that you are on. And Chevy says it's the simple habits that we can do daily, but choose not to better our health. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
exercise, dieting, these are the things they say. Control your blood pressure, low sugar,
Low cholesterol,
low
all of those
cholesterol.
things.
And so, yes, we have to sharpen our brains daily. We
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
So, as they are in their journey, and I like to say journey because I think all of us are on a journey. Health is a journey. I know my health journey has been all over the place up until like maybe 15 years ago when I started to really see that I needed to manage my health in a more positive way and to really take heed of how wellness can contribute to our overall living. And, we can't control per se really what happens in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So if we have family members, because, I think all of us are at the age where our parents are like in their 70s and their 80s, and they're seeing the signs or maybe potentially it are demonstrating, forgetfulness in certain ways or degrees, you know, how do we talk to them? Okay, because I remember, and I ask you this specifically, when my dad passed away in 2021, and he was getting some signs of dementia or kind of not really, thinking he had diabetes. And I think that contributed to it for sure. And I remember him driving, and I was driving behind him, and we were driving to a particular area. And when we got to where we were at, I told him, "Hey, I don't think you should be driving anymore." And he said, "Huh?" I said, "You were weaving in and out." And he's like, "Where?" And he was just having a hard time understanding, but I could see that there were some things that were changing for him. So if we do see our family members and suddenly they have all these symptoms, what are some positive interactions that we can have with our family members? Or what can we be saying?
Yeah, and that's a good question too. So typically when clients call me, they've already been experiencing symptoms for a couple years now. So it's a little bit more involved. But what I always tell people is when you see changes in your loved one, everyone's personality is different, right? So you know your loved one better than anybody else, and you know what might be the best approach. But I often feel that giving the person some control in the
Mhm.
situation, like if you are noticing something, let's take your example with the driving. Do you ever feel like maybe you're weaving in and out when you're driving? Sometimes people take that a little bit better. Now there are definitely going to be times where someone who has dementia and clearly is struggling, they do not think that there's anything wrong with them.
Mhm.
And that can be a huge battle for families and caregivers to you can't always get your point across, right?
Right.
Because
Mhm.
in the dementia journey, people are living right then in their own reality, and we have to join them on that. But if it's beginning stages, I would encourage your loved one to just go for a checkup.
Mhm.
When's the last time you had your physical? You said you were feeling a little bit forgetful, or you lost your phone and you couldn't find it, things like that, using the specifics that are happening at that time And things that are very relevant. You don't want to talk about something that happened, 6 months ago, but in the now,
Right.
what's happening, and
Yeah.
how can we look into that further, and how can we address it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that those are good ideas. If I would have used that approach for my dad, I think it would have gone a little bit better because he got very defensive and hard right.
Yes.
He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was driving just fine. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this is not working.
Yeah.
Not
So kind of put
working.
it in their hands, right? Give them the
Yeah.
driver's seat. Well, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To feel like they're having a say in what might be happening. And that also will help you gauge, are they aware of it?
Yeah.
And I remember, even though, my grandfather, when he had Alzheimer's and he lived in a different state, but, the family that was living next to him found that he probably wasn't safe to drive anymore. And he was very determined. And so
Mhm.
he would drive, I don't know if it was his scooter now or his riding mower, but up to town to be able to get the things that he needed. And, he clearly didn't think that there was any problem with that. But, one thing that's I'm glad he never got lost, right? Because now we
Yeah.
see all those silver alerts, and it's so upsetting when I see those things, because I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, what could we have done before getting to this point to make that person safe? But yeah, it depends on your loved one's personality too, and how you're going to approach it. But there are different ways, and if the first way you approach it doesn't work, or you get a defensive response, then try a different way.
Yeah. Well, I needed you at that moment, Andrea, because I was like, yeah, like this is not going well. And
Yeah.
you let me know. So Glenroy, he does have a question for you. He asks, what changes should we be aware of for ourselves as means of applying and practicing preventive measures?
So I think that's a great question. Really maintaining your health and wellness is going to be something that you can do from the start. So, making sure that you are going to your annual physical exams, you're having your annual lab work done, because that right there is going to tell you if you have high cholesterol, right? You're going to get your blood
Mhm.
pressure checked. You're going to get your sugar checked. All of those things we talked about already in part of different types of the irreversible dementias. So when you get a diagnosis of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, follow what the healthcare provider is telling you to do. If that is the diet, changing your diet, if it's changing the way that you're exercising. And it's really hard to get into a new routine, right?
Mhm.
So exercise is hard. And when my husband was going through his treatments, prior to that, I exercised 5-6 days a week. I was always exercising.
Me too.
And then, but I'm now taking him to Johns Hopkins every day for 30 days in a row, no breaks on the weekend. And I really
Wow.
got out of my exercise routine. I just
Yeah.
lost it. And it took me months to be able to get back in that. But I just had to make that conscious decision and say, you know what, I have to do this, right? And of course, part of me is, you look at your own family history too, and what type of medical conditions do your loved ones have? And then, it makes me step back and think, well, I need to be doing everything I can, because I don't want to have Alzheimer's disease. I mean, it's not always preventable 100%, but,
Right.
and then when you just get back into that routine or start a new routine, you just have to just really hold yourself accountable and keep at it. And then it will become a habit.
Absolutely. Everyone knows, I don't have to repeat this, but I will. Our health and wellness is so important, like especially as we mature. I ain't gonna say we're getting older, but we are a little bit. But as we mature, it's even more important for us to have a fitness regime for whatever that looks like for you. I still run, I still spin, lift weights. I am very much into making sure that I'm operating at a high level when it comes to my health and wellness, because there's nothing like going into the doctor and being told there's something that you could have prevented, and now it has manifested into something that you may not be able to recover very well from.
Right.
And I know some of my family and some of my peers, people of my age, who have had some morbidity, illnesses and injuries. There have been significant injuries like broken arms, broken feet, ankles, and these are things that were from lack of exercise, lack of, proper diet. And they had to realize that they had to start to do something differently. So why not just start today and do something, right?
That's
To
right.
help ourselves, because we're trying to slay to success. All right. And
That's right.
that's what I'm doing. Okay. I don't know what y'all doing, but I'm trying to slay to success. Okay. So absolutely, Dwayne. And Dwayne put up this spiritual wellness is extremely important, because what we're speaking to and what you're doing is a part of the 8 dimensions of wellness. And everyone has these, things that we have, like these prongs in our life that need attention. If we fail to acknowledge any parts of these 8 dimensions of wellness, then we're off. So we have, our physical, our emotional, our spiritual, did I say spiritual, emotional, physical. We also have our social, we have intellectual, environmental, financial, and occupational wellness. These are all 8 dimensions of wellness. And if any one of these areas, but today we're specifically talking about some physical wellness, which can turn into some emotional, because this
Mhm.
is a significant emotional event for the entire family.
Right.
To have to endure one of their family members going through the symptoms of dementia and trying to navigate the healthcare system on top of that is so, I mean, like, I already know, I've seen it time and time again. And so are you also in your work uh educating the family on the importance of their wellness when it comes
Yes,
to this?
absolutely. Families really struggle. Um, a lot of them really want their loved one to age in place, right? They
Mm,
want to provide that caregiving so that their loved one does not need to move to an assisted living or memory care or nursing home, whatever it may be. And they go through a huge struggle, and they go through a lot of caregiver burden and burnout. So, yes, I do coach them as to taking care of themselves and when is it time to get help. So I'm kind of
mm,
that objective person. I'm not emotionally attached, but yes, my clients do end up becoming part of my family, right? So there is
absolutely.
some attachment there, but I can be that objective person to look at the whole situation and say, this isn't working.
Mhm.
So, you can't be a great caregiver if you can't care for yourself.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's a huge part of what I do. And sometimes it may be, depending on their situation and the finances that are available, that might be hiring a caregiver, and coaching them through that. And how do you connect with an agency or a private caregiver that's going to do a great job? And what are the things that you look for? Because while I know nobody is going to take care of your loved one the way that you do, it's okay to step back and let somebody else do it. So I coach them. My previous role before starting my business was director of nursing for home care and home health. So I feel that I can give them a lot of guidance there. And what questions do you ask? How do you interview for that? To make sure that you're having, it's a stranger in the
Yeah.
beginning, right? Come into your home and provide care to your loved one. That's very scary for a lot of people. But yes, I do a lot of family coaching. And also a lot of the teaching that I do for them is, things like how to effectively communicate with your loved one. How do you respond when they say something that's hurtful to you? If they're
Mm.
having those challenging behaviors, and how do you um, take a step back and realize that that's not your loved one talking, right? It's
Yeah.
Alzheimer's disease or whatever it is that they're going through, and it's actually changes happening in their brain. So, and that's hard for families. And when they do, if it comes to a decision where their loved one needs to move to a memory care, I usually still continue working with them and
Yeah.
supporting the family. And it's okay. They'll ask things like, well, how many times should I be visiting? How many hours should I stay? And should I expect the community to do this for my mom? Or it's hard. They're really struggling. And that's something that part of the passion that I have is just really, I don't want people to feel lost, right? I don't want
Mm.
people to feel lost navigating whatever the healthcare crisis is that they're going through. Just like how I felt when my husband was diagnosed. I've been a nurse for 32 years and I didn't know all about multiple myeloma. You have IgG, IgM, IgA, all this stuff. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so I feel like if I can make a difference for that patient and that family so they don't feel lost,
Yeah.
then I feel like I'm doing a good job.
Yeah. Well, I definitely commend you because I have, again, y'all, I'll say that over and over again. I don't have a bedside manner like I used to when I was younger. But when you do and you're stepping right in it and you're providing, it's a bridge, it's a bridge between your loved one and the healthcare system. And you've created this space to allow the older adults or whoever it is who are dealing with that to do it with dignity, and
Exactly.
respect, because I think that's the other piece that sometimes goes missing.
Absolutely.
Like, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like there's a stigma around
Mm.
dementia diagnosis.
Yes.
And a lot of people who have been diagnosed or their family members, they will see that some friends and families don't visit anymore. And
Mm.
it's not because they don't care about the person, it's because they don't know how to interact. They don't know what to expect. I feel like they're on eggshells. Like, well, if I go to visit her, what if she doesn't remember who I am?
Mhm.
What should I do in that situation? So, I wrote a blog not too long ago just about, can we please normalize dementia?
Yeah.
Like we do with high blood pressure and diabetes, and we give so much support to those people. So yeah, there's a huge stigma associated with it, and people are afraid, they don't understand it. So that's if I can educate people, and that's one of the things I do for community partners, is I train their employees who are working directly with people who have dementia.
Yes.
And I don't know if you're familiar with Dementia Live, but I'm a education partner and a Dementia Live coach now, and it really is a simulation that lets you step into the shoes of someone living with dementia, and it's really powerful for people that are working with someone with dementia, just to step into that, even if it's only for a few minutes, and then they step back and say, oh my gosh, my client's living like this 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I know I'm just small here, by myself doing my thing, but I want to educate people. I want people to know that this does not have to be so scary, right? There are things that we can do to support the person and the families.
Yeah. So, and as you said, you might be small, but you mighty, okay? Because it definitely helped me to see a little bit more about, dementia, and to talk about it, because these are sometimes taboo. Nobody wants to
Exactly.
really talk about it until it happens. And
Right.
so now we're preparing others and preparing myself for if this happens to me or anyone that's in my family that I'm close to. And Mosaic Spark says the way you said that, when you were talking about getting back to a routine, is
Uh-huh.
hard. She says it's so hard to get back into a routine. And what you said was freeing, That is just, it is hard,
It
and
is.
you have to give ourselves grace because life is lifing and things come up. And if, you had a routine, it may take you a little bit to get back to that routine,
Yeah,
because we all go through transition at some point in our life. And so we just have to give ourselves a little bit more grace and more compassion about it.
exactly.
I do want to go back, Andrea, about Glenn Roy's comment that he made earlier.
Hmm.
Okay, because now we're talking business, all right? Because now we in business, both of us are entrepreneurs, and we have, we have what we do in our
That's
services
right.
and products. And, he says the process of learning and all that you can will in turn allow you to build upon your value within an organization or allow you more power in negotiating your services. So, throughout your journey of becoming an entrepreneur, can you share a little bit about maybe some of the feelings or, what were you thinking at the time? Is it all that you expected? What is this for you?
Yeah. So I completely resigned from my director of nursing position about a year and a half ago. I was still doing some consulting for them, kind of weaning my way out of there. And, you know, taking the leap of faith, right, to
Mm,
believe in yourself and step back and think, okay, if I do this,
uh-huh.
I have to count on myself to make money, right?
Yes. Mhm.
To be able to provide for my family. Um,
Absolutely.
and it's scary. And I am a nurse. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a marketing person. And that was the hardest thing for me. Like, how do I let people know what I'm doing? And there definitely were days where I thought, did I make the right decision?
Right.
Because there's in this area anyway, there's nobody else doing what I'm doing. So it's hard for people to kind of grasp and learn what type of service I provide. And so that has been a challenge, just getting that out there. But now, the clients are coming in and the word is getting out there, which is great. But, you know, I think the biggest thing is believing in yourself. You
Yeah.
have to believe that you can do it. And you have to keep saying those things to yourself, right? I got this. I
Yeah.
can do it. And there are going to be days, and we all go through this, no matter what our career is. But there's days where we feel defeated, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't a great day today, but you have to just look in anything good that came out of today, focus on that, and know that tomorrow can be better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the way you have to look at this, y'all. I'm really like, we're connected. We're like on the same wavelength, because
Yes.
there are days where I feel like, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? But you know what? When you're doing passion work and you understand your why and you really believe in it, others will believe in it as well. You just got to continue to stay on course, stay the path. Know that this was divinely given to you and only you. I mean, you already created your name, if you will. You're the dementia nurse. Okay. So, and I absolutely love that because that's a branding thing. And
Yeah.
so, you have to be able to put yourself out there. And it's true. I didn't have to sell myself either when I was in the military. Like, I mean, you just work, you right.
Right.
And the opportunities will kind of come that way. But when you're having your own business, it's a little bit different approach to that. So, I applaud you for what you're doing. Absolutely. This is just so powerful for what you do for not only the patients but for the families, because you're like the hero, the shero, if you will, to come in and save the day. You're like, oh my gosh, she's going to help us, with our loved one, because our loved ones are very precious to us and they're part of our family. We want them to do well. We just maybe need someone outside to come into our family, because we be trying to do it all, and sometimes that just doesn't work.
Yep.
Okay, so Glenroy has a comment here. He says, in general, what we don't understand about the illnesses, diseases, and turmoils that others are enduring, We interpret based on generally accepted notions that are accepted through ignorance, not practicality. So yeah, you
Yeah.
running through the simulation and having, employees to run through the simulation, because it's true. People don't know what they don't know,
Absolutely.
and they're scared of what they don't know.
Hmm.
And so they will make it up. It's whatever the society is saying about, different types of people. And we can name up all the illnesses in the world where, people will say, well, they're crazy. They're not, they're not with it. They're out there, don't talk to them. And in reality, it's more of what can we do to help one another as a community, because this person is really speaking out that they need support.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we are coming up to the top of the hour, and I knew we would because this is an amazing conversation. So I have one more question for you, and then I'll have you, share with us, anything else that you want to share with the audience. But I do want to know, about what you think your family and friends are going to say about you at your 80th birthday party. So if you are given those years to live to that age, what do you think they're going to say about you, or what do you want them to say about you?
So that's an interesting thing to think about, right?
Mhm.
Trying to look ahead, I could see that maybe they're telling me it's time to retire when I'm 80 because I don't like to sit still. I get bored easily, so I could see something like that, right? Or I'll be I don't know what I'll be doing, volunteering somewhere probably.
Yeah.
No, I would hope that people will remember me as somebody who really just wanted to make a difference for people that are feeling lost with especially dementia care. And I think my family will. I think that they would say I'm pretty okay.
I think they're going to say more than you're pretty okay.
Oh.
I do. I do. I mean, it's your energy. It's the way that you said you don't think that you're ever going to sit still. I'm the same way. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to sit still and just do nothing. That's not in me. That's not part of my DNA either. And what we're doing again is passion work. It's purpose driven. So we are going to continue on, and I know they're going to say amazing things about you, and you're going to get your flowers. All right.
Oh,
Hopefully they're giving you your flowers now, but
yes.
hopefully really giving you your flowers on your 80th birthday.
Oh,
And then Kim also chimed in about Glenroy's last comment about understanding illnesses and diseases and so forth and so on.
yeah.
So
Oh,
Dwayne says, thank you so much for this information. Tomorrow I'm going to put on my camis and boots and go on a long road march. He's
there
a,
you go.
he's a retired Marine hood. And so he's going to go out there and get his road march on. Be
That's
safe
great.
out there, Dwayne. All right. Don't try to hurt nobody when you're out there.
That's so good.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so any last comments that you want to share with the audience before we sign off?
No, I just wanted to thank you again, Rochelle, for inviting me. This was a lot of fun, and I'm happy to be on the show. I think what you're doing is great, and kind of, it's all about positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I definitely love highlighting and bringing more awareness to people who are starting businesses and see a gap in something that they are definitely um, passionate about, because we know people who have started businesses and they don't like it. They don't
yeah,
like what they're doing. And, I'm encouraging and inspiring those that have a gift and have a talent to serve in whatever that is for them, that they can, do for a very long time. And so I thank you for being here. Dwayne said, God bless you.
God bless
All right. So, y'all, this has been the Slay to Success talk show with my guest, Andrea Bendig, today, nurse. She's the dementia nurse. Okay. So don't forget that.
you.
And we will be back here next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yet I have another SLAYMAZING guest. You know, I just get folks on here to share. So have a great week, y'all. Keep on slaying until you can't slay no more. Thank you so much for everyone who was here with us live. Chevy, Mosaic Sparks, Glenn Roy, Dwayne. Going down the line, y'all. Kim, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the feedback. We really appreciate your presence. So we will see you all very soon. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.